brutal day in the market for speculative stock investors. Even Oracle is down a lot today after being in a downtrend, of course. If we look at the all-time chart, it's looking horrendous recently, which is obviously where I want to be stepping in and buying. But let's go over these stocks and figure out which ones make the most sense to be buying heavily. These are a bunch of stocks that I think are really good at their current prices, but I want to talk about specifically for this week, and ones that I would concentrate the most money and I would put the most focus in these because there are tons of dips I'd like to buy. I'd like to buy more Microsoft, more Palantir, more American Airlines even. There's a bunch of stocks I want to buy, but they're not quite at prices that I would want to put money in yet. Now, we want to go over here to Tesla, Oracle, SoFi, and ServiceNow. I did include Intel and AMD, but more just so that I could relate to these positions. I could compare these to these. These are two of my biggest gainers from the previous year, where I was really loading up on Intel. This whole time it was about $19. I bought it so many times and then finally held it for a while as a long-term investment, and eventually this one went crazy. AMD was my biggest position by far because I was not only heavy in AMD shares, but I also had a lot of AMDL shares. AMDL was actually my biggest position, and so that went up about 2,000%. So it's a huge winner for me, right? And I want to compare these because I was buying down here, so I want to compare these to these dips that we're looking at. So let's go ahead and get started, but real quick, I wanted to show you guys this. If you're not in the VIP Discord already, make sure you get in there. We have a free trial going on right now in the Discord. I think there's only a few hours left to claim it because it expires soon, but I want to show you some of the profits from the last day. So I swung Intel shares. I did a leverage share buy. Now Intel ended up going up a little bit over 6%. It spiked like crazy, and I sold during that spike. But even after the earnings report, it kept going up, or it kept staying up a little bit. And so I was up on my Intel leverage shares, which this guy followed me on. They went up 30%. I only sold for like 15, 16%, something like that, because it was in minutes that it made me a ton of money. So I took it. And then this was Tesla calls. This was a Tesla alert that went up 50% after I alerted it very, very quickly. And then I did another Tesla day trade today that did well. But yeah, check this out. 45% on Intel in one day. That's a leverage bet right there. And then I swung Tesla calls and T-Mobile calls. These T-Mobile calls made me 200% at open today. The Tesla swing didn't do too well, only 13%, which I know it's like a lot because the S&P 500 goes up 10% the whole year. But when you're only making 13% on an options trade, that's not really impressive, right? So I'm counting that as break even, not necessarily a win, but 200% on T-Mobile calls. This saved me today because Oracle was down, obviously. Oracle was down a lot today, but I bought 10 contracts of T-Mobile and I was able to make a ton of money from that because these were like $250 contracts. So maybe a ton of money. Over $2,000 from two trades if you combine them. So great trades. And then we hit a Tesla day trade that did well. So all around a really good day. But let's talk about these long-term investments. So number one, let's start off with ServiceNow. I'd like to always introduce them by who they're kind of working for. So ServiceNow, basically what they do is they create kind of like AI agents, you could call them, which go into a business, specifically like Oracle, and they replace humans. So Oracle just laid off 20% of its workforce. When you hear about AI stealing your job, this is literally what ServiceNow is here to do. So they replaced 20% of Oracle's workforce, or that's what they're doing actively. And it's just AI that's pretty much automating what people do. And so President Trump is betting on this company. He bought it 106, but insiders have been buying, hedge funds have been buying right around the $100 level has been huge for this company. So I started buying this stock pretty recently, and I'm basically break even on this investment. And I am super bullish. I've got to say, I'm super, super bullish on this stock. The thing is, it is a very slow moving stock. It's like a safe long term investment for me. So the price target is not anything crazy. It's like 36%, let's see, or 42%, even better. 43 if you want to round up. But about 43% expected upside because I'd like to sell at about 140, which is in line with the analyst price target. This is one that I would get rid of a little bit earlier on, like 140 instead of holding for like 200 plus, just because, like I said, it's a slower moving stock. So I feel like I can get rid of this for a huge profit and then kind of cycle that into the next investment when I find something else. So ServiceNow at under $100 looks great to me. I like it a lot. I'm going to be buying, especially what I've been telling you guys is when it hits the low 80s, I'll buy heavily because that's where it bottomed out before. It bottomed out a few different times in the low 80s. I was never able to make like a huge buy, but I'm coming up on like $20,000 worth of this stock that I'm holding. So next time it dips, I'd like to add if it doesn't dip to the low 80s again and it's pretty much bottomed out, which is super possible the way the stock has been moving, well then, I just look to sell at 140. But if it hits low 80s, I'm buying heavy. But I did say for this week, and it's not in the low 80s so far this week. So let's go on to the next. SoFi, which a lot of people have been talking about because this was just at $20, 1987, same thing. Um, just at $20 after we bought at 15.58. So I'm still up on my shares, but not up a ton. Not enough to brag about, like I'm up $1,000 on this. So I'm looking to buy below my entry, which is at 15.50 for a heavy buy. But I'll be honest, guys, I'm very tempted to start buying even if it just hits 16 or goes right below, because I want more of this stock. The CEO of the company bought $2 million worth of shares during this dip. He specifically was buying in the $15 to $17 range. So kind of where we are now, but I would like to be in the lower end of that range, obviously, because that's where he's been. He also, on the latest dip, the last time it hit 16, he bought call options. So I want to be exposed pretty heavily to this stock in my portfolio. The CEO is so bullish on it, but not just because the CEO is buying. That can't be your whole decision-making process, right? Because sure, it's one of the most bullish indicators ever, but it can't be your only thing. Well, the growth metrics are insane, guys. I bought them at $6 before when they were going unprofitable to profitable. They're still putting up insane numbers. It's still got a lot of upside. I think it'll hit all-time highs, if not higher, relatively soon, like in the next 2 years for sure, I think, because their growth metrics are absurd. They've got pretty much all their growth metrics are, if not 2 digits, 3 digits. There's no singular digits in their entire metrics, which is just absurd to me. If you want to see exactly, you can look it up, but it's just outrageous. I'm very, very bullish on SoFi because the company is moving so well and they're advancing so well. But here's the thing. Here's kind of like the smart move I'm thinking that they're making here. I'm going to bet on this stock. I'm going to buy more before their next earnings because last time they beat on earnings, but they didn't raise the guidance, and so the stock fell, right? That was this whole shenanigan here where it fell a lot, even after a pullback, even after reporting insane growth and forecasts. But the stock went down. I think they're going to raise guidance this quarter, and if they raise guidance this quarter after the CEO bought $2 million of shares, after the CEO bought call options, I think it could explode. So I think the CEO is kind of doing some, not insider trading, but potentially maybe call it manipulation or whatever. I think I'm going to bet on him with this one. That's why I want it to be in before these earnings. I think I'll buy even more, honestly. Oracle, definitely my favorite stock setup right now because I think it's the best bang for your buck. I could talk about this for days, but EPS is expected to go up 175% by 2030. The price targets are ridiculous. I mean, it's just beyond amazing. Check this out. We looked at ServiceNow a second ago. SoFi's like 20%, Oracle's 120%, which, yes, to be fair, that is because it's fallen so much, but we were just at 250. I think that's very realistic. I don't think this is a price target that's outrageous. So that's why starting at 135, I was buying the stock. So yes, I'm aware. I am very aware that I'm down on this position. A lot of people are like, Oracle is cooked. Well, they just signed a $7 billion deal with the Pentagon, which everyone could expect coming. They have so many connections with the government. Do you really think the Pentagon is going to be putting up contracts with a company that is quote unquote cooked? They have $125 billion in debt. They've also got $638 billion. I guess you could add $7 billion now in obligations. Basically guaranteed revenue. So I really like this setup. I really do like it. The last time it got down here, guys, look at what happened. It was a this is of course the monthly chart. The last time it got here, it bottomed out and then it pumped like crazy. Same with the time before, but never to this extent where it stayed here for a good bit on the monthly. So I'm loading up on this right now and I'm looking to sell pretty much the price targets for 2029 to 2030, which is $425 all the way up to 550. I think that this all-time high is just beyond realistic. I think it's almost bound to happen with the way that their earnings are expected to go up by 175% and the revenue is expected to go up 234%. Like, I just think that's bound to happen, but I think the stock could be much higher than that, to be completely honest. So this one, obviously, for now is going to be the stock that I'm buying the most of. It would be, before we go to Tesla, this would be like the closest comparison I can give you to Intel and AMD, and I'll tell you why. It's not just because I made a lot of money on them, because I could pull up 50 stocks that I made an absurd amount of money on. It's because Intel was pretty much, or we'll start with AMD, I guess, because I'm on the chart. AMD was pretty much ruled out as a cooked company. Like, sure, semiconductors were going to be big in the future in 2026 or whatever, 2030. But this was only a year ago. It was basically just ruled out that they couldn't compete with NVIDIA. No one really thought to the extent that they would compete. And that was what I was betting on. Well, NVIDIA was at all-time highs. NVIDIA was doing extremely well, getting all these contracts. But AMD, they had debt, right? They had a lot of debt. And so that kind of ruled it out. Well, guess who bought? Me at 70 bucks. Now, if I had held all my shares, I'd be, I'd be rich. I'd have an SVJ. But I didn't. I trimmed my shares along the way up. And with Oracle, I'm going to make sure that I hold for even more gains. But Intel also pretty much ruled out as a cooked company. It was at $19 for the longest time. Any one of you guys could have followed me on this trade for any of the times I was trading it, literally for months, from August of 24 all the way up into August of 25 for a year. For a year, it was at $19, ruled out as a cooked company. But guess what? They had the US government do a deal with them where they took a 10% stake. Easiest buy of my life. As soon as I heard that news, I bought even more. Look what happened. It went from $19 to $140 before pulling back a little bit finally, which was bound to happen, So I think Oracle is very similar, pretty much ruled out here as just a company that has debt. So I'm very, very happily buying because just like Intel and just like AMD, they're doing things for the future and they're taking on debt to do so. They're making a big, big bet on themselves, which I'm fine taking as well. I'm super happy to. Tesla. I'm going to just speed run this real quick because we're already 12 minutes into the video and I'd like to wrap things up. I'm going to be straightforward with you guys. I would not touch Tesla with a 600-foot pole right now. Sure, this could very easily go right back up, super easily. Elon has to come out and say one bullish thing and the bulls are going to buy it up. So yeah, it could happen, but I'm not going to risk that. You know why? I could buy Oracle right now for, a crazy gain in the course of a couple to a few years, or I could buy Tesla for a 23% gain. Like, what do you think sounds better to me? Tesla has almost no upside potential. Their price target is lower than the stock was last week. It was $420. I don't like this, guys. I don't like this at all. Still a high price to sales ratio of about 14. Oracle's is about 5, if not less by now. And they're just not doing anything super, super exciting. They're actually kind of starting to lose some of their competitions here in the couple industries that they're venturing into with robotics, with taxis, all that kind of stuff. They're not doing amazing. Now, I think Tesla is an amazing company. If it can fold a 200, I'm going to buy. Last summer, a lot of people forgot about this. Another one of my leverage bets was Tesla. This was right here. I bought leverage Tesla using ticker symbol TSLL at 10 bucks. I sold it at $20. Quick 100% gain. It went from 200 all the way up to 500 super quickly. And so if Tesla can fall again, sure, I'll buy it, but not at this price. I'm not paying $300 for Tesla shares right now when I could be buying Oracle, ServiceNow, SoFi, Microsoft. I could name a bunch of other stocks. Guys, make sure you're in the Discord. I'm going to link it in the description so you can take every trade with me. If you're not subscribed, do so because I'll be posting daily, and have a great day.